Hey boys and girls, it's KnightStalker here. Welcome along today to today's video about the Shenji Grenadiers and my first impressions. So the Shenji's have been out a week now. That's not a lot of practice for anyone unless they play sort of full time. I know some of the streamers have had a great time with some of these, but they get to play all day every day and I don't. So cut me some slack here. I've only been out a week and a bit, and these are my first impressions all about them. So let's talk about some of the good things about the Shenji Grenadiers. The first obviously is their insane accuracy with their guns. You can, especially with the directed fire, hit out beyond what would normally be an accurate range for muskets, and they can also really snipe heroes, is one of the really good things that they're good at, you know. One of the other good things about them is of course their giant big bada boom grenades. Can't go past that fact. This unit I sort of look at as a sort of cross between weak Kriegsrats and strong fireball throwers, or whatever you want to call them. I'm sure there's some fancy names out there for those particular guys. So this is Icalian Militia slash Barcian Wild Flames. They have really good arcs on these grenades, and they can get up and over walls, onto walls. Like, there's some really good angles that you can find with this unit, and people are finding them more and more to launch into corners where people stack up that are usually very hard to penetrate. All you got to do is chuck some grenades over the walls, spam them into there. Even 2 units of Shenji Grenadiers together can really get those grenades going. So the grenades are pretty much what the unit's all about. If you want to have a purely musket shooter unit, you'd be better off with the Kriegs or the Tercios, because really this unit centers around the grenades, but they also shoot, at least in my opinion. You know, I'm still getting used to them. They have a reasonably high ammo count, so that they can stay in the fight rather long. The grenades don't, but in terms of gunshots, they get about 600 rounds from memory, and for a very small unit of this sort of type, that actually lasts quite a long time. They're moderately tough, and this is a good and a bad thing, we'll talk about it later, but they're moderately tough, so they can survive more than one hit from, say, a longbow hero. They can take a little bit of a damage, but they're not like the Tercios, where a ranged unit can move into them and you can still get away with most of the unit run away. You're just not going to be able to do that with the Shenji Grenadiers. They do big gun damage. They've got very high armor penetration, very high damage, even for a musket unit, so it's worth noting that. They are great at killing the heroes, sniping off. I'm sure you've seen some of the clips and things that I've got on some of the videos there of just really weird snipes where people sort of stand there and look at you and they'd be like, "Ha, what are you going to do?" And then you blow their head off at a range of 60 meters or something crazy like that. The nades are very good at wiping light units, and that's kind of a key thing that you want to use this unit for. Look for units of archers, other units of Shenji, because, you know, if you go grenade line and pump them up for grenades, they very much will wipe a unit. Any ranged unit is really going to be absolutely destroyed by these guys. And I guess one of the more interesting parts about this unit is that even when you get it whittled away, right? Every unit gets whittled away over time, or you lose half to a cannon shot, that sort of thing. But the Shenji Grenadiers are actually really good, all the way down to they've got about 3 or 4 models left, and at that point they sort of start to really trail off. But if you've got 4, 5, 6 models left in the unit, you can still throw an effective grenade volley if you're looking for knockdowns rather than kills, and you've still got enough hero sniping capability there to pick off heroes and things like that. So that really is one of the things they've got strongly going for them, is that when they get down to very small amounts of the unit left, they can still actually output damage. Some of the bad things about them. One of my least favourite things about them is they aim very slowly. Very slowly. Even when you're using the directed fire, the one ability. Like, for example, Kriegs, you can pull them out, hit V, and they'll immediately aim and fire. Imperials, you can pull them out and you hit V and they aim real slow. Have you noticed that? Because that's the same with the Shenji Grenadiers. Even the directed fire, like the Imperials, you can use the directed fire and they'll fire a lot more quickly, but that's not so with the Shenjis. They're very slow to aim, and that's sort of, even if you upgrade their rate of fire, it's that aiming time that really lets them down, right? They have 3 parts to their fire cycle. It's load, aim and fire, and the fire cycle gets boosted a lot, but it doesn't help their load or their aiming. we'll talk about that they're only moderately tough. So moderately tough is both good and bad, because people are happy to jump into this unit, like especially short swords, long swords, mauls. They've got nothing to fear from this unit when you jump into them. Like if you jump into the middle of a unit of Imperial archers, for example, you are dead. I don't care who you are. But if you jump into the middle of Shenji Grenadiers, usually you can kill most of them before they can even really react. And even if you take sort of a few shots, you really will kill them. The only way to get around this is if the owning player sort of makes them take a step back and then direct fires onto you, and they fire a volley into you. That'll kill you. So that's something you've got to be aware of if you're going to jump on this unit. They have a very low grenade count. So if you're going to go top line, you'll only have 2 shots. And given that this is what the unit is mostly about and why you would take them over tercios or kriegs, the grenades are important. So mine I take bottom line for that very reason. And you can boost up the grenades with siege fighter doctrine, breakthrough doctrine, and increase the blunt damage, and that will get those grenades up to, I think it's a maximum of about 1300 raw, and that's a lot of damage, right? That'll kill a lot of stuff. You know, all of the grenades land together, so it's not just one hit of 1300. It's, you know, a whole unit's worth of 1300s exploding all around these targets. Something they really struggle with is just like the tercios. The tercios have a real problem hitting things that are moving left or right or moving quickly, and the Shenjis have that same problem. More so than the Imperial Arquebusiers. Imperial Arquebusiers are not too bad at that. Surprisingly, but these guys cannot hit anything that's moving quickly or anything that's moving left to right. Almost like the accuracy counts against them in this. They're highly vulnerable to ranged units and axe boys. Obviously, if you get a grenade off on other Shenji Grenadiers, you'll kill them straight up. If you get a unit of prefecture archers in range of this unit, as soon as that first arrow rain starts landing, it's all over from there. They'll be very, very quickly killed and wiped out to a man. Namcans will screw them up. It's about the only thing that you don't have to worry about is other muskets, just because of the way that muskets work, especially versus musket. These guys are going to be better, obviously. And you know, everybody hates the Axie boys who can teleport through the lines of your army and just get straight into your ranged at the back, and these guys are highly vulnerable to that. The Axe boys just wipe them out to a man very, very quickly. Like all muskets, they're only just okay at pushing points. The exception is obviously that they have this amazing grenade ability that will wipe light units or bust down shields, and you can throw them into places where traditionally people will hide, that are usually not reachable, and you can really upset the balance of the game in that way, so to push. So they're okay at pushing, right? But the grenade makes them not too bad at all. Like most ranged, you need to babysit this unit. You have to micro or focus them to do really well with it. You can't just leave them in shooting like you could with, say, Namcans or tercios, whose job it is to stand in a place, take a few hits and keep firing. You can't do that with this unit. They'll get killed very quickly. The moment you take your eye off them, you're reducing their effectiveness because you're not going to get the most out of them, and obviously someone will probably try and kill them. So they must be supported, right? Just like a lot of other ranged or DPS units, like the Zykalia Militia / Basayan Wild Flames, they must be supported because they're actually really vulnerable. And of course, at this stage, everybody knows how good those grenades and things can be, and actually how squishy this unit can be as well. So you'll find that people will actively target them. So there's some good and bad stuff about this unit. So some discussion points I want to talk to you about is, number one, are they a good unit? Yes, this is a good unit, especially when you focus it or micro it, and it has great potential. Are they better than tercios and kriegs? Well, it's situational a lot of the time, but overall, yes, they're definitely better than kriegs. Mostly because kriegs can't do sustained combat. They're sort of like a javelin gun unit, right? And these guys will stay in combat for a long time and throw big hefty grenades. Definitely better than kriegs. Are they better than tercios? Well, it depends if you want to micro them. If you want to micro, these guys will be better. If you want a nice solid unit that can take hits and dish it out and won't die immediately if someone jumps on them, tercios are better for you. Are they worth their leadership? Yes, this unit is worth its leadership. It's only 310 at the moment, so it'd be 320 outside, and really that's only 10 points over Tercios to get the grenades, but of course you're going to take a big hit in survivability. People are asking me a lot, especially in the Discord chat room, will they feature in my warband regularly? Answer to that one is no. And that might conflict with everything else I've said about them, but I don't like this unit for the amount of time you have to focus on them. I think Imperial Archers are better and more fun to micro than these guys. There's a lot of this unit out there at the moment, and I'm really tired of fighting with them, and I'm really tired of being fought against with them. They don't work with my playstyle particularly well, as you've probably seen in some of the clips. They're not my favourite unit. And because people actively target them, it's really hard to keep them alive a long time. You can get amazing scores with this unit, don't get me wrong, but for me personally, they're not going to be a regular feature in my warband. And the last question I get asked is, should I spend all the time and effort towards getting them? And the answer to that is yes, this is a good unit. If you like Kriegsrats and you like Tercios and you also like the Zycalian Militia or the Basian Wildflames, whatever you want to call them, this is going to be a great unit for you because it combines all of the good, positive attributes of all four and, of course, some of the weaknesses as well. So if you're going to like those units, you're going to love this unit. Anyway, let me show you a little bit of action when I compare Tercios to Shenjis in a game. Here we go. So what we've got here is Orgolia's Siege, and we've got this endpoint here which is renowned for its nice open endpoint where a lot of ranged can fire onto the point. So this is a great chance to use Tercios and Shenjis and just see how effective they are at more or less the same job. So let's see how we get on. The point of that was just to sort of disrupt their shield line so the Tercios can get more, land more shots on them. The Axie boys come out and they just absolutely smash them. So far it's okay for the Tercios. The range is a bit long. They're not normally good at shooting at this sort of range, and of course they have to fall back from the Modau. This is the sort of perfect range here for the old Tercios. About, what would you call that, 20 metres? They hit the vast majority of their shots at this sort of range. It doesn't mean they can't hit at long range. They're actually reasonably accurate, as a musket unit. So when we put them here about sort of 40 or 50 metres from the point, we'll see how much damage they do as people try to push on. Now, one thing that does happen in this video is see the longbow hero right at the top of the stairs there? He or she is going to notice very soon that the Tercios are there. And it takes 3 shots from a longbow, usually, to kill a Tercio. But a good longbow player at this sort of scenario will just start working on them, and that's what's happening here. Some of them are already damaged, so the longbow's getting in some decent kills. And as the hero there, we're taking a lot of fire from the Shenjis on the far side there, which are doing a lot of damage. Tercios at this point are about to run out of ammunition, which is quite unusual for Tercios. They have an absolute bucket load of ammo, so we've got to send them on back. Let's just fast forward and we go and get the Shenjis. Right, and here we've got the Shenjis, and we're going to put them in a very similar location, and we'll sort of compare how they do at the same job. One thing that's going to happen here is instead of the longbow hero going to focus on them, which he doesn't, as a matter of fact, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a flank happen, and we'll see how the Shenjis deal with that. So as you can see, they're hitting a lot more shots at this sort of range than the Tercios are. Were they to be focused by that longbow hero, it would probably turn out much worse for this unit, because it's only 2 shots to kill a Shenji with a longbow. But the amount of shots that are landing is vastly superior to the Tercios. So at this sort of range, it's fair to say that the Shenjis are superior. As you notice though, the Tercios were landing a lot more shots than this when they were closer. So something to consider. Are you going to work at standoff range, or are you going to come in nice and close and use that tankiness of the tercios. Tercios don't get that, of course, but we're already starting to get threatened, so we'll pull them back a little bit. Behind all the other ranged. That is a slight advantage that the Shenjis are going to have over the way that the tercios are working, is that there are more than one ranged unit shooting into them, so they'll be picking off a lot of the damaged units, especially when you've got something like Pavi's crossbows, who are a very, very strong unit. Cheeky heel. Right in the middle of battle, out in the open. And look, someone started to focus them now, and I noticed that this Modao has been coming through, so obviously they've been flanked. So we run them away. See how the heroes dive on them? And that's exactly what you should be doing. They just don't stand up to that. The tercios would be like, oh, that's mildly irritating, as you can imagine. The tercios have, of course, a block. They have like a little parry animation, which completely discounts the hit, and it actually procs. It actually triggers quite a bit. So it makes them significantly tougher. The tercios, very significantly tougher. Obviously, with guns, the closer you are, the more hits you're going to land. So it's quite worth bringing them in close sometimes, especially if you want to use that big juicy grenade. As you can see, they are landing lots of nice hits. As the numbers of enemies start to thin out a bit and the enemies start to move around a bit, the Shenji's damage drops off quite considerably. I love it. I love the 40s in open formation. That person knows what they're up to. But at this stage, it's only a matter of time for our team until we win. Shenji's now out of ammo, and although you didn't see the start of the push with the tercios, it's fair to say that the tercios have a lot more staying power. They have more ammunition. Like, tercios ammunition is, whew, as long as you top it up when you have an opportunity, it's damn near endless. Like, running out of ammo with tercios is rather difficult. It's not so with Shenji Grenadiers, even though the Shenjis do have a lot of ammo. So there we have it, boys and girls. I'll just quickly bring up now the screen that shows you the kills between the two. And given that the tercios had an extra bit of time beforehand, I definitely can say that the Shenji Grenadiers here have done the more damage. Anyway, I hope you learned something new, or you just enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for coming to my channel.